Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin at the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase, guys. And last time we spoke, Bitcoin was sitting right on top of this $3,600 support between 38 and 3,600. I believe it was sitting right here, somewhere around 3,650-ish, somewhere thereabouts. I told you guys if 3,600, actually it was just peeking its head below 3,600. That was what it was. And I told you guys if we get that decisive break below 3,600, we were very likely coming down to this 3,400 to 3,200 to 3,250 support. And that's exactly what happened. Price did end up breaking down, guys. Found support right in that area between 3,400 and 3,250. It broke down just briefly outside there at about 3,240, I think it was, or 3,230, somewhere thereabouts, guys. But of course, the bulls pushed it right back up, came down, had another test at that bottom of that 3,250, and then if we've had this little rise here over the last 24 hours or so, a little bit more than that. Now, this is, unfortunately, guys, this is not a. I do not think this is a bottom. I know some people are, that are very hopeful. I do not think this is a bottom. We're getting no signs of a major reversal at all. In fact, we're getting the opposite. This just looks like possibly a bull trap, or possibly just, of course, a retesting of what was support now acting as resistance, and that's the very bearish sign that we're seeing, guys. I tell you guys all the time. For those of you that aren't day traders, I tell you guys all the time. Anytime a support breaks, you want to watch for that retest. You want to see what happens when it comes back up. If we do end up coming back up, and what was support starts acting as resistance, that's a very bearish sign. I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing here, guys. We saw price come back up, test what was support, tried to break above 3,600, strongly rejected, or not strongly, but rejected, at least as of now, and has been rejected for the last 12 hours, trying to get above there, just unable to. And in my opinion, guys, this, unless we're able to break above this 3,600, guys, and start consolidating, of course, we had this little wick that briefly broke above, guys. That's not what I'm talking about. As you guys know, we need a decisive break. Decisive, of course, we need at least a 4-hour candle opening and closing above 3,600. And until that does happen, guys, the bears are still in full control, and even if that does happen, the bears are going to be in full control. We really need to see a move, but I'm going to be complete. In my opinion, this is complete. This is just a very minor stop punt, very minor bull trap on the, and it's just going to continue back down, in my opinion. And I do believe if we come back, especially if we get a strong rejection here, I don't believe 3,400 to 3,250 support is going to hold. It might. It certainly might. We'll see. Really depending on how strong we get a rejection up here at 3,600, if we do get that. But in my opinion, guys, it looks to me like this is very temporary, and we're going to come back down, at least back down to this zone between 3,400 and 3,250 at least. But very probably, guys, I think that the possibility of a $3,000 Bitcoin is becoming more of a probability, in my opinion. I mean, we're just getting all signs. Again, what was support is acting as resistance. We were unable to break above 3,600, at least as of yet. We come over here and we look at our volume. I had just refreshed this. We're only sitting at 5.1 billion for the day. That's extremely low volume, guys. Just terrible volume, ripe for manipulation. And again, guys, this obviously new money is not entering into this market. As I tell you guys all the time, we need, for the bottom to be in, for us to start that bull run that everyone's hoping for, we have to have new money enter the market. And right now, it's clear that new money is not entering the market at all. We need to see daily volume above 10 billion on a daily basis before we know that new money is entering this market. Until we see that, guys, this is just a minor, a little, again, call it a bull trap, call it just a quick retracement until we continue the bearish trend down. We're getting no signs of a major reversal at all. Now, it doesn't mean you can't dollar cost average into a position if you're looking to hold for a year or more. These are still a year from now. We're going to be hoping. People are going to be wishing they bought at these prices. But I do think that right now, guys, this is just a good time to watch and wait and see how Bitcoin reacts. And I do think that $3,000 is becoming a very real possibility, if not a probability at this point. All right, zooming out on the weekly chart. Let's look at the weekly RSI, guys. I've told you guys in the past that this weekly RSI, in my opinion, is definitely something to watch. If and when this thing becomes oversold, and I do think that there's a very good chance that it will. We're almost there now. We're sitting at about 31, somewhere thereabouts, right around 31. If this thing gets oversold by just a few points, call it if this thing drops down to say 26, 25, even 27 on the weekly RSI, I do think that that's going to be a very interesting time to enter into to start looking out for a buy. Again, depending on price, we're gonna have to watch it, and I'll cover that in a minute. But as soon as the weekly RSI gets oversold, especially if you're talking about a traditional market, that's certainly obviously depending on fundamentals, depending on a lot of things, but just from a technical point of view, it's a very, very good time to start thinking about entering into a position, guys, typically. And I do think that probably would be a good time to start entering into a position for Bitcoin if this thing does get oversold, especially if it starts getting down to about that 27, 26, 25 level. This is going to be a good thing to watch, good thing to keep an eye on, in my opinion. All right, zooming out, looking at, let me get a drink of water, guys, stand by. Okay, guys, I'm back. All right, looking at the monthly chart, guys, and I know I've shown you, most of you that follow my videos, you've seen this before, but for the benefit of those of you that are new, it's always good to keep an eye on the bigger picture, guys, and this becomes so clear when you start looking at this, where we're going to find support and resistance. Looking at the bigger picture here, guys, we can see coming down, there was support right here at this $3,600 level. Looking at in the past, in fact, let me, not on the monthly chart, let me zoom into the weekly chart here. You can see that a little bit better. There we go. On the weekly chart, guys, it was very clear that we had support right here at this $3,600 level. Of course, that's what we're hitting now. We can see that we're getting no major reaction really at all. In fact, we're breaking down below here. So of course, the next logical level is right here between 3,000 and 2,500, guys. And this is where I'm going to start to really start entering, ladder my position, or ladder into a heavier position, I should say, between 3,000 and 2,500, guys. I'm definitely going to ladder into a position. Now, am I going to be going in with all of my fiat available to buy Bitcoin? Absolutely not. No question. Definitely I will not, but I will probably deploy about between 40, maybe even 50%, depending on how, now we'll see, well, depending on a couple other factors, but between 40 and 50% of the money that I have set aside to buy Bitcoin will be deployed between 3,000 and 2,500. Now, this would be a very logical area for reversal, and it's going to be very interesting to see if it does get down here. It'll be very interesting to see how it reacts. If we get down here and it reacts the way it did at 4,000, just kind of consolidation, moving sideways, no major bounce at all, in my opinion, that's going to be an extremely bearish sign, guys, and at that point, I think it's very likely we're going to come down to at least testing the bottom of this $2,500 support, possibly lower than that. If 2,500 does break down, guys, I think it's, and unfortunately, now anything could happen, but if 2,500 breaks down, I think unfortunately, guys, it becomes very probable that we're going to look, and if I look at the monthly chart, I've showed you guys this before, and I don't want to spread any FUD. I don't think this is probable yet. I think $3,000 is becoming very probable. It's certainly we're definitely at least 50-50. We're coming down to 3,000, but I would say more than likely even 60-40 favors 3,000 at this point. That being said, guys, if 2,500 breaks down, I think it's going to be, I think that this level down here that I have marked off that I told you guys in the past was my absolute bottom. In my opinion, this is I don't think Bitcoin will come any lower than this. I will be very comfortable deploying about 95% of the fiat that I have available to buy Bitcoin in this area. Now, I'll definitely not go 100%. I'm always going to reserve some on the side to for that trend change until we're definitely on an uptrend. I will definitely not going all in until we do have that trend reversal and we are in a clear uptrend. But I will be very comfortable deploying 95% of the fiat I have available to buy Bitcoin between 12 and 1,100. I do believe this will be an absolute bottom if this 2,500 area does end up breaking down, in my opinion, guys. And I show you could. It's almost, if you just pull out to the monthly chart, it becomes clear as day where that support is. You can see that support right here, breaking down 4 months in a row between 3,000 and 2,500. Very logical area for a bottom right here. But again, if that does break down, guys, we're definitely more, and again, I shouldn't say definitely, but we're very likely coming down to this 12 to $1,100, $1,200 Bitcoin, in my opinion. All right, looking at shorts, guys, we can see that shorts, zooming out here, we can see I've been telling you guys to constantly, this latest rise was certainly not surprising at all, especially if you've been watching shorts. As I've told you guys in the past, we've been flirting with all-time highs. We did in the last 24 hours, price did came up, crushed above, created a new all-time high on shorts. And of course, the minute that happened, guys, it was only a matter of time before we saw market makers drive price up to try to liquidate some of those shorts. And certainly, here we go. We can see that that did happen here. They liquidated some of those shorts right here. Now, what shorts are still sitting very close to what the previous all-time high was, and certainly if we look at the difference between longs versus shorts, that 30% range that I tell you guys all the time, 30%. As soon as you get a split, as soon as shorts are outpacing longs by 30%, you want to start watching out for a possible short squeeze. Certainly, if it gets to 40%, guys, it usually does happen. You can almost put your, just the second it hits that 40% mark, there you go. But as of right now, guys, we are still in that zone, well above 30%, to where we could still see a possible short squeeze. We could still see market makers try to drive price up to liquidate those shorts, and they would have to, in my opinion, to liquidate shorts to any major degree, they'd have to at least drive it up above this $4,400 range, so call it $4,450, $4,500, somewhere thereabouts. But very likely they're going to have to drive it above this range here at about $4,850. Do I think that's probable? I don't think so. I think I think that it's very possible that we could drive above 3,600, even above 3,900, even test that $4,000 range. People will start to think that the bottom is in, and then they'll just bring price right back down. But as of right now, guys, it doesn't even look like they're going to do that. Right now, guys, we're not even able to break above this $3,600 support, as I told you guys. And I think very likely, guys, it's just a matter of time before we come back down to at least retest this 3,400 to 3,250. Probably, though, in my opinion, that if we do come back down here, if we get a strong rejection here, I do think that this is very likely going to break. It's already been softened up back here. I do think, remember, every time you test a support, it gets weaker and weaker. So if we come back down to test it again down here, guys, there's a very good chance it's going to break down, and then we're going to be watching for that $3,000 Bitcoin to follow shortly after. Okay, guys, that's enough for Bitcoin. Let me very quickly cover EOS, very, very quickly. And I say very quickly, guys, because this is just it's just following Bitcoin just to a greater degree. Bitcoin did have the spark over the last for the last 24 to 48 hours, and of course EOS did the same, just to a greater degree. And the bad side, the good thing is it's becoming a little more predictable in that it's just following Bitcoin. And it is hitting the major support areas. I told you guys price was up here last time we talked. I believe somewhere in this area, just breaking down below this $2.11 zone. I told you if this did break down that we were coming down to at least this zone down here between $1.85 and $1.72. That's exactly what happened. Price came back down, tested, hit just below this zone here, guys, dropped just below. The bulls pushed it right back up, tested it again, wicked just below it again, bulls pushed it right back up, and then we pushed back up here. And of course, what was support is now acting as resistance, just like on Bitcoin. So this $2.11 zone right here that we were finding support at the last time we talked is now acting as resistance. So again, if we're not able to break up above this prior support here, which is acting as resistance, if we're not able to break it back above that, guys, again, a very, very bearish sign, and tells me that more than likely we're coming back down to, again, retest this $1.85 to $1.72 zone. Now, one thing that's interesting with EOS is we've seen shorts that have been stacking over the last week or so. I mean, just stacking massively over the last week or so. And we really haven't had much liquidation with this latest bounce, guys. In fact, we've had some some people have actually added to their short positions here. So it's possible that we see EOS rise back up and break back above to about possibly hitting this zone here, maybe $2.45. That's a possibility. I don't want to call it a probability at this point, but it's certainly a possibility. I mean, obviously, it's just going to follow, more than likely, just follow Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin is able to rise just a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised to see EOS if it does break above this $2.11 support. Wouldn't be surprised to see it just kind of break loose until it hits about $2.45, and at that point, that'd be a very good short entry, in my opinion, to come right back around. We'll have to wait and see. If we break above $2.25, or excuse me, if we break above $2.45, I'll start to reevaluate, guys, and then I'll get a little more bullish short term. But that's, in my opinion, I just don't see that happening at this point. Okay, looking at zooming in a little bit closer, assuming that we do get a rejection here at 211, and we do come back down to test this zone between $1.85 and $1.72. Assuming that does happen, guys, if we do break below $1.72 decisively, in other words, if we get a 4-hour candle, both opening and closing below $1.72, not just opening, not just closing, but opening and closing below $1.72, I think very likely we're going to come back down to this zone here between $1.25 and $1.10. There's just not a lot of, in fact, let me zoom out here to the daily chart so you can see a little better. There's not a lot of support between $1.72 and $1.10. There's just not much at all. Now, as soon as we hit down to this as soon as we $1.72 and $1.25, I should say. As soon as we do hit the $1.25, there's a lot of support. In fact, we can see here, price came back down, bounced right off of here, bounced off $1.25 here, bounced off it here, here. I mean, just numerous times in the past, $1.25 has been a very relevant zone, and then coming back up, we can see it's acted as resistance as well before finally breaking through. So $1.25 is a very relevant zone, a very strong support, and I do think if $1.72 does break down, guys, we could very quickly find ourselves falling down to around $1.25, $1.30 range, somewhere in that area. Doesn't mean that has to happen, just means it's a real possibility and something you want to certainly keep an eye on. And if you are looking to deploy, again, if we ever see $1.25 to $1.10 EOS, guys, that's with that. To use an analogy, to use my my prior referencing Bitcoin, that will be the point where that'll be kind of that $1,100 Bitcoin area. In other words, this is where I'll be comfortable deploying 95% of the fiat that I have available to buy EOS down between $1.25 and $1.10. In my opinion, this would be a very, in my opinion, this would be the kind of the absolute bottom that I'd be watching for EOS. Now, is that an absolute bottom? Can it go lower than that? Of course it can. Of course it can. But just looking at the chart, guys, I do believe that $1.25 to $1.10 is a very, very logical area. I'd be shocked if it went below that. And again, I'd be very comfortable deploying a lot of fiat in that area. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.